During the campaign, President Trump made a big promise of mass deportation against undocumented individuals, and now that plan is underway.
Yeah, about 25 minutes ago, we had our Tamara Starr at the desk with us here to start talking about her 13 Investigate series surrounding this. And she joins us now again in the studio with Tamara, what this could mean for the economy on top of many other things.
Absolutely. Good morning. But yeah, we felt like The Living Unknown was the perfect title because President Trump's presidency will become one of the most important political science case studies in our country's history. On President Trump's first day in office, he signed several executive orders, but it's important to remember that these executive orders can still be blocked by Congress or even the courts. So we all just have to wait and see how this all will play out. But one thing is very clear: immigration does have a strong impact on our economy.
There are, and it's an estimate because there's no registry of undocumented people in the United States, but the estimate is around 11 million undocumented people in the United States. As a point of reference, the U.S. prison population is 1.9 million. So that's a large number of people.
Throughout the history of the United States, immigration has been an ongoing battle, at times dividing Congress and even the American voter.
It's been a pretty startling change in public opinion in the last 4 years on immigration. You know, if you go back even to 2020, not that long ago when Joe Biden was running for the presidency, about 35% of Americans wanted to see immigration increase. About 31% wanted to see it decrease.
Deportation is not a new concept. According to a USA Facts, a nonprofit that makes government data easy for all, they say there were 1.1 million deportations in 2023. As of August 2024, there have been already 526,000 deportations. Director of the Immigration Law Clinic says immigration is not as simple as one may think.
There are kind of two general sets of immigration visas generally. There's humanitarian and then there's work. Both of those have not been updated in several decades. And so they aren't responsive to the needs of what's happening right now. So it might take a very long time for them to actually see the outcome of any application. And that means that they're living in limbo for a really long time.
You may be wondering, where do these people come from? Data from this fiscal year, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection says that the majority of those crossing into the United States are from Mexico and other parts of Central and South America. Experts say they're coming here for different reasons.
Some of them, you said, are coming here for religious reasons. Many of them are fleeing persecutions. I mentioned the asylum system a moment ago. That is, the asylum system was set up in 1951 by the UN Convention on Refugees. So there's international law behind that. We have an obligation per international law to allow people into this country who are being persecuted on religious reasons, reasons of creed, reasons of nationality, reasons of race.
While President Trump's concept of mass deportation is not new, this is the first time we have seen a roundup of this size against undocumented migrants.
People live in fear, and it means that people aren't able to actually connect with their communities. And it means that people aren't able to access and take advantage of potential statuses that they might be eligible for.
Now, coming up later today at 4, we will hear from 2 organizations who are stepping up and helping those undocumented community members. And we also will hear on the change they want to see.
Some New York State residents are calling on lawmakers to do more to protect the migrant community.
And this was the scene on the first day of the new legislative session this year. Supporters calling for 4 bills that would protect the migrant community.
Here in the Capital Region, there are different organizations with a common mission to protect and serve those coming to the United States.
NewsChannel 13 reporter Tamara Starr and producer Eric Guerra sat down with 2 of those organizations as we continue our 13 Investigate series, Living in the Unknown.
Pero la verdad es que muchos de esos trabajadores agrícolas lecheros viven con miedo de que en cualquier momento puedan ser separados de sus familias, miedo de que mientras trabajan incansablemente para proveer a sus seres queridos, puedan ser deportados debido a su estatus migratorio.
Right now, many of those who have made the journey to the U.S. are living with the uncertainty of their future.
Que actúen cuando.
Many are now relying on organizations like Capital District Latinos.
Capital District Latinos provides services around the social determinants of health, which is how people live their daily lives and how certain things affect them on an ongoing basis, such as health care, mental health services, nutrition, housing, transportation.
Over the years, CDL says that they have seen an increase of those needing their services, especially those coming from Latin America.
We provide warm clothing for many of the people who arrive here who don't know what it's like to live in, 20-degree weather.
With President Trump now back in office, organization leaders are coming together to not only make sure basic needs are met, but making sure this community knows their rights. Another organization in the front lines is Capital District Border Watch, which says they're now holding different workshops.
There are now ongoing efforts to hold Know Your Rights training for the migrants. Many of them are not aware of that everyone in this country has basic constitutional rights, and one of them is the right to remain silent.
Right now, there's a growing push for New York State lawmakers to do more to protect New Yorkers.
Are we ready to fight? Yeah! Are we ready to win? Yeah!
4 bills are now sitting at the state capitol. The first is the New York for All Act, which will prohibit all state and local agencies from cooperating with ICE and Customs Border and Protection. The second is the Dignity, Not Detention Act. That would end ICE's contracts with local jails and making sure New York State is not profiting off of ICE detention. The Access to Representative Act will create a right to counsel in New York State immigration courts and ensures funding for legal services. And Clemency Justice Act, which would protect New Yorkers facing exile due to the double punishment of the criminal and immigration legal systems.
New York State Legislature has a history of aligning itself with vulnerable communities. And I have confidence that the legislature will find a way in whatever, kind of framework that they have to work with, because it's not going to be easy. But New York State has a tradition of being that state that welcomes people.
NewsChannel 13's Tamara Starr reporting. Supporters say they won't stop fighting until they feel the migrant community is protected and safe. Coming up live at 5, our team sits down with a political expert on the logistics of President Trump's immigration plan.
I think that it's very scary on several levels. I think, first of all, the messaging. That in and of itself has an effect on people.
The message Donald Trump repeatedly voiced throughout his presidential campaign was mass deportation, vowing to send undocumented immigrants out of the country by the millions, is what he said. The issue of immigration has gone far beyond the border. Many cities and states, including right here in New York, have seen an increase in migrants coming to our areas.
As we have reported throughout our series here, many are crossing the border for different reasons. And we've also heard from 2 organizations helping the community.
And new at 5, we're going to take a look at the logistics of President Trump's immigration plan, which he announced during his campaign. Let's take a look.
A campaign promise by now President Donald Trump ordering sweeping deportations across the country. A political science professor says conducting that promise won't be easy.
It's the money, it's the logistical challenges, also just the number of ICE, which that's the Immigrants and Customs Enforcement Agency, sometimes called ICE. You would have to hire, they said about, again, I think it's on about 30,000 new officers, as well as a number of new local officials, too, because ICE oftentimes collaborates with local law enforcement as well.
If this were to happen, Ron says ICE would become the largest federal agency, displacing the FBI and Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive Institute. He adds it's not only hiring more officers, but the price to deport those undocumented.
Estimates made by the American Immigration Institute say it would cost about $88 billion a year to deport 1 million people. It's probably going to be, this will be not a 1-year operation, it'd probably be a decade-long operation. We're talking about almost $1 trillion to do that. And that's detention facilities, maintaining detention facilities, processing asylum cases.
Even if 20% of people were to self-deport today, Ron says the cost to deport those who choose to stay will remain high. Another challenge the Trump administration will face will be knowing who to deport. While there's no registry of undocumented people in the U.S., experts say several families have mixed immigration status. During an interview with Meet the Press in December, President Trump promises to keep families together.
Well, I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
Even kids who are here legally?
Well, what you're going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations.
And that's where the 14th Amendment comes to play. The amendment was ratified after the Civil War. It grants citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the United States and provides all citizens with equal protection under the laws. With a majority Trump-appointed Supreme Court, there's concerns Trump will try to challenge the 14th Amendment.
Trump has said on day one of the things he wants to do is issue an executive order to undo birthright citizenship. That is not how the law works. I do think that a lot of them believe in the law and believe in the stabilizing force of law. I think it would be hard for many of them to overturn 100 years of precedent.
Experts say Trump's promise of mass deportation will rely on the number of officers hired, if the U.S. can afford it, and finding out who is here illegally and not. For News Channel 13 Investigates, I'm Tamara Starr.
Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, we're going to take a look at the effects that this immigration plan could have on the entire economy, locally, statewide, and nationally.
And to highlight, our 11 p.m. producer Eric spearheaded this piece. So well done, Eric, and the entire Investigate series.
President Donald Trump's mass deportation plan has begun.
Tom Homan, the new border czar, told Fox News ICE agents have already arrested more than 300 people.
13 Investigates has been looking into the impacts of all this.
And now new at 6, we're looking into how mass deportation could affect the U.S. economy. News Channel 13 reporter Tamara Starr and producer Eric Guerra continued their 13 Investigate series with the final piece now, Living in the Unknown.
As President Trump's immigration plan now begins to unfold, there's growing concerns over the economy.
Immigration, whether it's legal or illegal, are very useful for the economy.
Different workers and industries help to keep the economy flowing. An economist says simply removing a portion of the workforce will have a direct effect.
If you look logically at the situation, the economic consequences could be quite severe. People who are paying social security taxes, income taxes, right? All those funds would be affected.
Experts say that the U.S. relies on immigration to keep certain sectors alive. According to USA Facts, a not-for-profit initiative that makes government data easy for all, back in 2022, the construction industry had the highest share of immigrant workers. Not far behind was the services category, which includes jobs from automotive repairs and beauty salons. Experts say when destruction hits, such as a hurricane in the south or wildfires in California, the U.S. needs laborers, and at times a majority of those are undocumented people.
Think about it, how much South American Mexicans are there, right? And so the construction sector. Can you imagine if you try to restrict that inflow right now? What would be the consequences?
Aside from providing to the workforce, experts say these workers still provide for the economy by paying certain taxes. According to a political science professor, it's estimated undocumented people add about $11 billion to state localities. Simply trying to remove these workers would not only disrupt the flow, but experts say it will cost Americans in the long run.
The effect on the economy is something that's going to be very visible. And then you talk about this will be a big surge in federal spending at a time when we're still coming out of that inflationary spiral. So we could see, inflation go up.
As the nation enters this new unknown era of President Trump's mass deportation plan, experts say they'll keep an eye on how this unfolds. For News Channel 13 Investigates, I'm Tamara Starr.
All right, thank you to Tamara and producer Eric Guerra for putting those stories together.